Alvvays Blue Rev album review. Let's chat about it. Hey friends, what's going on? John here from What's Spinning here tonight to chat about this latest album from Alvvays. These guys and gals are a Canadian indie pop and dream pop band who, at first, I'm gonna be honest with you, I was not feeling their output at the time. Just wasn't really clicking with me at the end of the day. I first heard their self-titled debut, and my initial thoughts were, At the time, I sort of just wrote it off as just more breezy, light on the ears indie pop with some solid vocals. But honestly, in the last few years, I've discovered a new real love for the album, and it is just very sweet. However, their last album, Anti-Socialites, I got hooked to immediately, just completely dove into this album headfirst and loved a lot of what they were doing. I thought the production was a lot better this time around. I liked the punchy hooks. And just overall, I thought the vocals were so infectious and dreamy and so sweet, which leads me to this new album. This is their first in like 3 or 4 years, and leading up to it, I was so impressed with a lot of the singles. I thought it was some of their best stuff. And truth be told, I think they went above and beyond on this album. This album starts off with Pharmacist, and they don't waste a single second. This track is very short. It's about 2 minutes in length, just a little bit over, but it is punchy, it is upbeat, it is dreamy, it is hazy, and so sweet. It also has a hell of a backbone. Like, I love breezy pop music as much as the next guy, but I don't want it blowing away in the wind. This track is not that. I love the soaring synths and the charming vocals and just how catchy it is at the end of the day. Yeah, sign me up for this album, man. Easy on Your Own is really great, too. This track just sounds so much broader than the material they were putting out over the last few albums or so. They take some big risks on this album at times, too. It also just has this incredible charm that you cannot say no to, not even if you wanted to. I dare you to try. And also, the vocals across this whole album are some of the better indie pop vocals that I've heard on any album this year. I'm just so happy to hear Alvvays so ahead of the game. It's something that I'm always happy to hear, and honestly, they're doing this all while making things pretty accessible and, more importantly, pretty simple. Like, this doesn't require multiple listens just to, cozy up to this track and, enjoy the output. I love how breezy and sweet on the ears after the earthquake is. This one's got some jangle pop thrown in there. The riff is a little punky as well. It's all wrapped up with these really great melodies, and honestly, I feel like I'm home. I mean, when these elements are done right, it's just so obvious. It just fills me with so much love, this track, and I really do enjoy the dual vocals we get on the chorus, too. Pressed takes me back. This one's a little retro. It's got some 80s flair to it. There's a lot of that on this album. But the incredibly pristine production remains to be a major highlight, and honestly, it brings me back to a simpler time. And I can't remember the last time Alvvays just sounded like such a unit. And a lot of the band's ballads I've been a little critical on over the years, but then I hear Many Mirrors and they nail it. As a matter of fact, it's one of the most incredibly heartfelt and tender tracks on the album. The hazy guitar solo is a nice touch. There's a lot to this album that, brings you back for seconds. It refuses to be ignored, and I love that. I'm a happy boy listening to this. And thankfully, I don't have too many complaints either. I mean, I'm not crazy about Tom Verlaine. This track is a little bit too plain for my liking. It just doesn't have that pop factor that so many other tracks do here. I mean, the production is still fine, the instrumental's fine, but vocally this isn't my cup of tea, and compared to other tracks here, this sounds a little unfocused. And I wish I could just give the okay to Tile by Tile, but I'm not feeling it. For a ballad I've heard so much better, especially on other tracks on this album. It's a little too dreamy for my liking, it's a little too sweet, and vocal-wise, easily my least favorite track. The production is still pretty good, and the strings are a nice touch, but outside of that, I've just heard so much better. And Born in Bristol is by far my least favorite track here. I don't know where this came from, but instantly this is very sloppy. This laid-back bassy groove is just not really where I want to hear Alvvays. It's so flat, and this instrumental is lifeless. Outside of that, though, this is easily a frontrunner from one of the best indie pop records of the year. Honestly, Pomeranian Spinster is really good, too. I mean, I personally needed a track like this at this point. It has a little oomph to it. It's got some energy once again. And here we have it. Honestly, this is probably the closest thing they can get to a punk track here from Alvvays, and I love the lyrical performance here. I love how dreamy and hazy Belinda says is, but it's evened out with a nice crunchy riff and an electric vocal performance. But it remains just as anthemic and very human at the end of the day. And lottery noises, as far as, a sort of breezy, very sort of hushed ballad, very tender one at that. Look no further. It's very good, especially when it opens up eventually. Very classy, it's very angelic and really sweet. Fourth figure also as a finale works wonders. I mean, the fluffy synths paired up against this awesome vocal solo, it's nothing crazy, but it's a very simple finale and one that wraps this album up really, really nicely. This album has succeeded all my expectations, and I thought that it was going to be very good. It's freaking awesome, and I think that Alvvays have completely outdone themselves and put out easily the best indie pop record of the year, or if not the best, very close to it. Honestly, not a lot of bad to report. Yeah, there's a couple of snoozers, but the amount of great material here, the stellar production, the great performances, makes me incredibly happy. I'm feeling a decent 8 on this album, but let me know what you all think down below. If you like the video, be sure to give us a like, give us a subscribe, and let me know down below what you would like for me to chat about in the future. And until next time, have a great day, friends.